Is today the worst day in Chicago Bears history or the NFC North as a whole? Welcome to this episode of Just Another Year Chicago. My name is Nick Brody, joined alongside Tony Cepeda. Usually we're optimistic on this show. Today, it is very hard to be, but there is some positives. We're going to get into that. Breaking news in a bunch of different categories. To start off, Allen Robinson was not franchise tagged by the Chicago Bears today. Davante Adams is getting franchise tagged by the Green Bay Packers. Number 3, Aaron Rodgers signs a 4-year, $200 million contract with $153 million in guaranteed money, making him the highest paid NFL player in all time, averaging $50 million a year. And quickly, why we do not want Amari Cooper. Just putting that out there because the market has changed. Market's tanked, not just the stock market, the NFL market has as well. Tony, before we begin, there's been a lot of franchise tags placed in the last 48 hours, 2 being Chris Godwin and Davante Adams, 2 targets for the Bears. That kind of stinks for us. Can you run through very quickly with the viewers what this means for the rest of the free agent class from a wide receiver standpoint, from a safety standpoint? Kind of hit on it for us.
Yeah, so just in general, we'll start here. The franchise tag, kind of to break it down, it's a 1-year contract, and it guarantees a predetermined salary for a player. The salary amount is set by the averaging of the top 5 salaries by position from the previous league year, so from last year, or if it's higher, than 120% of the player's salary from the previous season. So players like quarterbacks and defensive ends, they obviously get a lot higher money because, again, you're taking the top 5 from that. As we just saw, a little man we call Aaron Rodgers just really set that market on fire. So obviously that'll be more than a kicker or a punter. So what this does, though, is it gives another bargaining chip to free agent wide receivers because it's another high-paid wide receiver. I know it's not a long-term contract, but agents will take anything. I remember real quick, Adrian Amos took his PFF rating into the Bears trying to get more money. They're like, absolutely not, but they will use anything. And this is definitely something that people will use. People like Amari Cooper real quick, and then we'll get into all the other terrible nonsense and news. But Amari Cooper's a guy that would benefit from this because, again, it kind of sets that market already. Amari Cooper is not as good as Davante Adams, obviously, but again, his agent will try to make his case for, he's X percent of Davante Adams, so he deserves X amount, which will probably end up being more. So I don't want to pay him. That's a lot of money.
I'm with you.
He's a good player. Don't get me wrong. It's just we're not, one wide receiver away from being a Super Bowl team. We have a lot of holes. There's just no reason to really blow all our money on this. The other thing I will say, we talked about it on the last episode, I believe. What the Cowboys did is what the Bears should do, and I think they will do, and they've kind of been doing it the past few years already, and however long, basically Khalil Mack's been on the team, and it's restructuring these contracts and converting them to signing bonuses. The Cowboys just did that with Dak Prescott, got $15 million freed up there. They did it with Zach Martin as well. I didn't see the exact number, but it basically gave him like $22 million in cap space to work with. So I think we have about 25 and change now.
Ryan Pace was the king of that. He always was restructuring contracts. I don't think there's a limit. I know we said there might be a limit about how many players. I think if it gets excessive, like the league's going to go, hey, you're building a super team at this point. Yeah. But, going back to Amari Cooper super fast before we walk into our man, Allen Robinson, we should have paid Allen Robinson if we were going to pay Amari Cooper. If the Bears do that, that's just stupid because also Amari Cooper got injured last year. He might not be ready for the beginning of the season. So why are we going to sign a guy who's not going to be ready at the beginning of the season, might not come back as the same player? There's a lot of big question marks for Amari Cooper. He's going to want the bag. Bears cannot do that. But Allen Robinson is walking into free agency with the ability to sign with whoever he wants, wherever he wants, and however he wants. Can he come back to Chicago? That was a big question. Yes. He's an unrestricted free agent. He can go test the market and be like, oh, no one wants me because I want too much money. Hey, Chicago, can I come back? My house is already here and my kids are in the school system. So we don't see him coming back because of just the bad blood that happened. Ryan Poles, I don't believe even talked really to Robinson about anything. This was just kind of Poles talking to his agent, and then Robinson was notified about it. We'll probably see some aggressive tweets later, but we also may have already found another guy to pair with Darnell Mooney from up north, thanks to Luke Getsy taking him away from Aaron Rodgers. This situation definitely made it good for the Bears. Good for the Bears. I'm going to hit on it because he's my number one guy that I want to go out and get that makes sense right now and for cheap. Bears also in a dream world with a variety of cuts, which we talked about in our most recent video, will have $65 million in cap before converting to signing bonuses. So the Bears could have $80 million in cap, or almost $100 million in cap. A lot of bags to go around. This team could get really good, really fast, because there's a few holes to build, and this free agency class gives that. So today we're going over who they can get from a wide receiver standpoint to replace Allen Robinson. But let's go through the 600-pound gorilla in the room really quickly. Aaron Rodgers will be playing in the NFC North for 4 more years, guaranteed. Tony, you want to hit on it really fast before we go into wide receivers?
Yeah, it's just a nightmare that just keeps going forever and ever. And I have, I'm sure other Bears fans are out there kind of with me on this. Sometimes I'm like, I'm a little bit happy he's back because I want to beat him. I don't want it to just be kind of like Brett Favre. It was like, oh, he retired. That's why we beat him. Obviously, it was different, when he went to the Vikings stuff. But I mean, he's on the Packers. I want it to be a triumph. I want it to be Justin Fields, baby, overtaking him.
That feeling of 2008.
But it just
2018.
Yes, 18. But it just keeps happening. It keeps happening. I don't know if it'll ever happen. Thankfully, what we have to look forward to is he's just gonna, they'll win the NFC North, but then they'll just get bounced in the first round again, get completely embarrassed, and we'll get 6 months to talk smack about Aaron Rodgers before the season starts again, and he beats us inevitably twice in the year. But that's okay because we'll take those small victories. I love it. What do you think, Nick?
Yeah, I mean, again, he signed a cap-friendly contract, and what we mean by that is $153 million of that money is guaranteed. That is on the payroll, and he's averaging what I believe they said, it was between 20-something million per year, which is good quarterback money. That's a lot of cap hit, but you pay quarterbacks that money. That's kind of what we're getting at here. So I honestly was like, all right, this is a test. The NFC North is not wide open, but the Packers now have so much money tied up. Who are they going to sign? Their defense is getting older again. You have Davante Adams, and the first guy that I'm going to hit on is likely going to come to Chicago. It's a big rumor that he's going to come to Chicago because of Luke Getsy. Let's just go into that subject real quick to go away from the negativity of Aaron Rodgers being in the NFC North for 4 years, which he will get bounced every year. We know that. He's not going to win the Super Bowl. Jerry Zuma tweeted out, Packers are not winning the Super Bowl in the next 4 years. Just putting that out there. Marquez Valdez-Scantling, wide receiver for the Green Bay Packers, has been reported that the Bears are going to make a run at him, and he is also interested. I am all about it. Tony's all about it. Here's why we're all about it. 6'4", 206 pounds, 26 years old. He's fast, he's big, he's strong. A favorite in the development of Luke Getsy as a whole. Luke Getsy worked with him from his rookie season. This guy loves Luke Getsy and was like, hey, this guy, I want to go play for him. I've had success. And the Bears need a new big body receiver with Allen Robinson walking out the door, or the Bears letting him walk out the door. He's going to know Luke Getsy's offense. He's had success with Aaron Rodgers. He can bring that success to Justin Fields and teach him that. Just like Davante Adams would have done. They're still human beings. They still read the same playbook. Sure, Davante Adams is technically a better receiver, or not technically. He is a better wide receiver, proven-wise. But I'm saying that, Marquez could be the same guy. Would very well be the same guy. He's a 4-year wide receiver. His best year was in 2010 when he had 63 targets. 2020, excuse me. 2020. I say I'm just all pumped. Everything's everywhere. I'm sure everyone feels the same. 63 targets, 33 receptions, 690 yards total. Do the math. That is 20.9 yards per catch. Holy shnikes. This guy gets 2 first downs every time he touched the ball that season and 6 touchdowns. We can get him for cheap due to his stats, due to his inexperience. He will be alongside Mooney. So Mooney will become wide receiver 1, or, have this guy at least on the roster and just have an awesome 3 wide receiver rotation, but go out and get this guy because that makes Mooney wide receiver 1. Now I'm kind of focusing on who's going to be the guy lined up next to him. Young, love the potential, but my real number 1 pick right now for a proven veteran that we want to bring into Chicago would be Mike Williams. I'll get into that in a little bit. But Tony, I mean, your next guy, I'm going for size. We all know that, size is a big deal in the NFL today. And when I look at a wide receiver, I'm like, how tall is he? How tall is he? And does he have good hands? Because usually when you're tall, you got big hands, go up, get the ball, all that good stuff. You know what they say about big hands. So Tony, yeah, absolutely. So Tony, quickly go through who you want your guy to be before I go into Mike Williams and we close out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, quick to touch on the big hands thing. I actually had the same size hands as DeAndre Hopkins did in his combine. It's 10.5 inch hands from pinky to thumb, giant hands over here. So basically, I could have been DeAndre Hopkins. I chose to not pursue a career in football. I instead decided to talk about. So Christian Kirk is my guy, wide receiver from the Arizona Cardinals. I know I touched on him before. I'm a big Christian Kirk fan. I think that he's been playing. He played with Larry Fitzgerald, and then he played with DeAndre Hopkins. Hard to be the number one guy when you're competing with those two guys. It just is what it is. Kind of like Marquez Valdez-Scantling with Davante Adams. Obviously, Adams is going to be the number one. So he's 5'11", 200 pounds. He's 25 years old, so a young guy, my age actually. 11 starts, 77 catches, 982 yards, 5 touchdowns, 12.8 yards per reception. That was specifically just last year in his career. He's 41 starts, 236 catches, 2,902 yards, basically 3,000 yards, 12.3 yards per reception, 17 touchdowns. He's got a 74.8% catch rate, which is pretty good. It's a sure-handed deep, especially for a guy that he's constantly 50 yards downfield trying to make this over the shoulder, catch from whoever before Kyler Murray, even just some other, whoever they dragged in off the streets. So that's pretty good. It definitely helps the running backs because it opens up the offense so much. They can't just stack the box. They have to worry about everything over the top. It also helps Fields kind of be able to scramble because, he can roll out. And when he takes corner out, obviously he's got stuff underneath, or you can just throw it up over the top to him. So opens up crossing routes to Mooney or to Valdez-Scantling, flares out to the flat, the screen game, etc. So another guy that he probably wouldn't be our number one. It would still probably be Mooney. But he would pair great with a true number one, like you said, like a Mike Williams or someone actually that I will hit on as well as we go along. But he will get the favorable matchups against the number 2 corner or even a safety just because they'll either have to cover Mooney or if we can get that true number one. So his market value, this was, I don't know what it is now with Adams, but 11.8 million. So deep wide receiver draft, deep free agent class. So he might be able to lowball him a bit coming off a cheap rookie deal. So he might want to get paid, but that's a guy I think they should definitely check out. So this is the guy that I really want as number one, DJ Chark. He's young. He is coming off a fractured left ankle, but again, that's not ligament damage. So that should be something that he can recover from. 6'4", 198, 25 years old. Really he lit it up on a terrible Jaguars team. So he made the most of what he had. And I imagine this guy would be awesome in a real offense with a real quarterback with Luke Getsy, a real, offensive coordinator. So that's a guy I would love to get. He's dying to get out of Jacksonville. So that I think he would just be a great guy to pair with a young quarterback like Justin Fields, kind of just be that almost sure-handed target. And so that's my guy.
Yeah, and get some meat on those bones, man. 198, come on. We got to take him over to Carson's or something for some ribs. But with that, a lot of news today. I know that was a lot of overwhelming. Tony and I are pretty overwhelmed by the whole situation. So stay tuned for that. We'll have more over the next couple of weeks. Free agency talk is going to be big. We have something coming out on Thursday, so stay tuned for that. But with that, thank you very much for joining this episode of Just Another Year Chicago. My name is Nick Brody, joined alongside Tony Sapita. We'll see you guys next time.